of the new year at the Magic Land Park in Abuja on New Year's Day. Yes, All
right, let's get to the Punch newspaper. Punch front page is quite busy this morning. We'll start from the stories above the name flag. NCDC emergency team meets over China COVID-19 surge. It's on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. I hope you can see the Punch now. Yes, 6 million liters for deployment before June, as according to the federal government. Scarcity. Federal government plans inspection of fuel stations and tanks. Is on page 23 of the Punch newspaper. Jonathan Adeboye make 100 most reputable Africans list. It's on page 28. Now, below the nameplate, presidential poll, Obasanjo endorses Obi as Atiku Tinubu camps protest. That's on page 2. 3 riders to that. Obi ahead others in terms of knowledge, discipline, vitality, character. That's Obasanjo there. Ex-president says Nigeria became hell on earth under this administration. Okay, Obasanjo endorsement worthless. He is a political paperweight. That's APC and PDP. Now, the photo story on the Punch newspaper is just an array of governors' wives welcoming first babies with gifts in their various states. That's interesting. Kingpin escapes as troops kill 16 Zamfara bandits. It's on page 13. That's at the bottom of the Punch. Aja policemen caught drinking on duty, abandoned work. Pages 4 and 5. Ogun couple killed after crossover service. Son abducted. Pages 4 and 5 is where you get details of that story on the Punch newspaper. Now the pilot, we just run through pilot. The news story on pilot, the Nigerian pilot, is just on politics. OBJ endorses Obi. Rider says LP presidential candidate Obi has edge over other contestants. There will be a listening president whose ears can be pulled if and when necessary. Challenges youths that it's their turn. You lock your turn and their future. Well, that's according to the Nigerian pilot. In this age, exigencies of office of president doesn't favor candidates over 70 years. That's OBJ speaking there. At the bottom of the pilot, we have conquered insecurity in Anambra State. At Soludo is on page 12. New Year message: better days ahead for Bayelsa, says Governor Dere. Atiku will repair 8-year damages of APC administration. That's according to Okowa. NDLEA arrests Brazil returnee on Xmas Day with 105 parcels of cocaine. It's on page 9. Autumn in New Year message says 2023 must be different. Literally of headlines
this morning.
Yes, naturally, people would expect us to bounce some endorsements and all that. What I'm going to say is that these things you hear from politicians and politically minded people are natural in the run-up to the commencement of the level 25 is quite close. I dare say that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So I rather walk away from politics and then talk about the returnee from Brazil that was arrested by the NDLEA. Abasi Prosmachooks was arrested at Arrival Hall. Now, that was let out by the Director of Media and Advocacy of the NDLEA. Cocaine was in candlesticks and a bottle purportedly containing body lotion. Now, the lessons...
How are they going to extract it?
Yeah, taking me to the NDLEA lab. Can I please qualify as a newspaper reviewer first?
You know, we've got to commend the NDLEA for that.
That is actually what I'm doing, my dear.
Yeah. Awesome.
Retired General Buba Marwa, sorry, gentleman and lady, I have to mention his name this time around.
Yes.
A message has to go to Nigerians about efficiency at the duty post. Let us remove this myth that when it is Nigerian, it is fraudulent, it cannot be done. That is a myth. That is a devilish assumption. There are good Nigerians, and we have to give kudos to the NDLEA staff.
Yeah.
People working at the airport. Remember, the man left Sao Paulo, Brazil, He wasn't caught. So that speaks for efficiency for our people at the airport. And I thought it is something we should mention. Okay? Then we should let the public know about the dangers of using cocaine. Cocaine use leads to, oh my God, I remember my secondary school grammar teacher, English grammar teacher. It leads to a somnambulistic society, sleepwalking society, people who are alive yet dead. So it's not good for a country to have drug addicts, because that tells you that the productivity in that country is not being shored.
The message here is Nigeria is no longer a dumping ground for drugs.
That's it.
From any country.
We have the state for you,
caught you, prosecuted.
Enforcement matters.
Yes.
Okay. Then the second one I picked is the one on the PTAD or PTAD. That is the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, paying 15 months of inherited unfunded pension liabilities to NITO and NTA pensioners. This is going out as the second and last batch to these people. It settles what was a similar dispute, some people agonizing over their not receiving. Remember the transition after the GSM telephony.
Yes.
The GSM telephony came on. Now I'm taking this up to underscore once more the need to ensure that individuals retire into a life of reasonable cushion and comfort. It was Killian who raised such the matter the other time, and we felt that a tenure of service deserves an exit devoid of panic. How can I work for 30 years, for 35 years, for 20 years, then I leave and I don't have something to fall back on? We should remember that Nigeria does not really have institutions that cater to the needs of the elderly.
We don't have the
sanatorium as much as we should do.
Well, I think the step, taken by this administration on the issue of the elderly is quite commendable.
It is very commendable.
And I also want to challenge, the governments at the subnational levels to do the same, to recognize the elderly in their various states. It is very important, but it's an area that Nigeria has neglected over the years, but I'm happy that the government of the day brought it back. There's one aspect of the stories that we read this morning I'd like us to also dissect a little bit. Chukwudi, we have conquered insecurity in Anambra State, according to the governor of that state. How true is this, by our own assessment, given by the general insecurity in the southeast of Nigeria? And indeed, if you have security in Anambra and you don't get it in Enugu, Imo, and Abia, you have done nothing, because these are the area that there's a network of people that are operating
across state borders.
So are you advocating that Soludo also has oversight duties over Imo, Enugu, and the rest of them?
No, I'm just saying that there will be a nexus, yes, there should be a nexus. Exactly. There's a network. Crime
does not happen in solitude. That's the truth. You have a point there. But let me say that optimism actually leads the way. You wake up and wish the world well, it turns out well for you. So if Governor Soludo is expressing natural optimism, I think it's one place to start from, but you have to follow the wish with the action. Anambra compared to Imo, I want to say, would seem to be simmering down a bit. Yeah, compared to Imo, yes. But as you said, when the little finger picks up oil, it's pressed on the rest of the fingers, other fingers, or the entire fingers. So it is important that when you're fighting crime in Enugu, you have to have an eye on Imo, you have to have an eye on Ebonyi, you have to have even on Rivers. Rivers has been reasonably peaceful.
And what has been established is whether the governors are working in unison with respect to insecurity in the area. I'm not sure about that, because there's no public statement or an action taken jointly by the governors of these states, to show that there is a concerted effort towards ending insecurity in the area. Not just ESN or IPOP and what have you. There are criminals, who are engaging, in nefarious activities in the area, having under the umbrella of IPOB or ESN or what have you.
I wish the youths of the Southeast will rise up like our civilian JTF did in Maiduguri.
Exactly.
They will rise up and fight against what is going on. Because first of all, the most economically advanced section of the country is down. The economy is down, everything. So I don't understand how you can allow your economy to just be destroyed by a few.
The problem in the Southeast draws inspiration from the fact that there are factionalized interests in security, and when you do not all plan, have a common plan, you're not going to have a terrible success in terms of reining in these recalcitrant criminals. So the first thing we require is for us to all have a focus. This person says he's fighting security, maybe outside the ambit of the law. The other people say they're fighting, and you see that there are divisive tendencies among those who claim to be fighting. When you don't have security, you have nothing.
Nothing.
Okay, perhaps one of the last point I want to raise here is Aja policeman caught drinking on duty, abandoned work. This is the area we had the shooting of the lawyer, and of course 2 weeks before that another shooting, and now these men are found drinking on duty and abandoned work.
I don't sounding hyperbolic, but this is a case of people who got caught. Many policemen drink. They should not.
On duty.
You are told not to drink when you drive, let alone don't drink when you carry an AK-47. That's why everyone was talking the other time about mishandling of weapons. Thank God it came from a man who God knew the force. That's right. He has been to war and knows how lethal the weapon is. Once the bullet leaves the barrel, the rest is left to the devil to decide. So we have to be very careful. Policemen should not drink on duty.
Okay, well, we that's why we wrap it up, for today. Chibudi, we thank you indeed. I hope to see you again tomorrow.
Always a delight. You're making me happy. I like on television.
You're never done.
I said I would have none of it.
Chibudi, you're a total package. We'll have you again tomorrow. Okay? I'll miss you.
Enjoy the rest of the public holiday.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on NTA Network Service. And of course, take a short break. When we come back, we should be reviewing, or rather looking at how Nigerians will fare politically in 2023, which we are in already. Stay with us.
As we close a successful year 2022 and prepare for the start of a better year 2023, the Nigeria Television Authority, NTA, wishes to appreciate and share the love with all who gave us a year to remember for good. The three arms of government, ministries, departments and agencies, corporate bodies and advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups and political parties. Most importantly, you, our esteemed viewer, we say thank you. Together, we made 2022 great. Let's make 2023 greater. Once again, we say thank you, wishing you a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year from all of us at the NTA. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
It's a anthem for Nigeria. Oh, better days are coming. Better days that gives us hope and strength. Determined to keep this hope alive, bring the smiles back to all Nigerians.
It's a new dawn in Nigeria. Renewed hope beckons on our people. The silver lining dots the skies. The firmament portents a bright future as the people of Nigeria move to vote a man whom they have come to trust for the realization of their aspirations for a better Nigeria. That man is Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. He has been tested. He can be trusted. Vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as President of Nigeria 2023. Vote Kashim Shettima as Vice President. Vote APC. Surely with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the smiles are returning. We are close to home.
Bring the smiles back to all Nigerians.
A new edition of TV Guide is out, featuring an impeccable personality with purposeful leadership. Alhaji Muhammad Mutakobi, the Executive National President of Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria.
774 local governments will be able to put all our structures in everywhere. I'll be able to bring the regions members together, to reconcile them, to come and work for the progress of the association.
Welcome to the final excitement as we also present an assemblage of professionals in the media space. Some compelling NTA programs, current trends in the fashion world, ICT, sports, entertainment, and lots more. Get a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Crude oil thefts, illegal refining of petroleum products, vandalism of pipelines, sea piracy, kidnapping for ransom, militancy and environmental degradation are amongst the potent threats in the south-south zone of Nigeria. Accordingly, Operation Delta Safe is being conducted in the south-south and parts of the southeast geographical zone to protect the nation's oil and gas industries, which is the mainstay of Nigeria's economy.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Next, it's as a prompt for our conversation, which is on 2023 and political expectations. Let's have a Vox Pop by our correspondent, Garba Mohammed Nata'ala.
While Nigerians are enjoying themselves, having a nice time, observing the New Year celebration, elections has drawn closer, and it will only be fair if you ask them, what do they expect in 2023?
Election is around the corner, campaign is on, so all Nigerians are looking forward to elect credible leaders that will change the narrative, and the onus is on the INEC, that the umpire, to play the game according to the rule, to let the vote of the Nigerian masses count.
Whoever comes into power, I want the person to fix the economy first, and the security situation. The height of inflation is so high, and I want something to be done so that everybody can afford 3 square meals.
I hope that the government will develop this country, and I hope that the government will bring plenty money.
I just hope that we'll have a new Nigeria, a change, that everyone will be happy. So that's what I'm hoping for, and plan that it will come by God's grace, and all of us will witness it.
You know, since it's really this politics, we will say it's a transition, isn't it? Yeah. So our prayer is we should have the best president, the president that will at least improve on things that have already started.
I wish for a united nation, a united country, where we see ourselves as our brother keepers.
I would want to advise all Nigerians to follow their heart. What their heart tells them is what they should do. They shouldn't sell their vote because they want to make money from it.
Nigerians have bared their minds, and it seems they have a positive mindset towards 2023. Now back to studios for more discussion.
All right, and to discuss the topic, first let me introduce Yabaji Yusuf Sani, National Chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. It's a pleasure to have you join us this morning, sir.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning.
And via Zoom, we have Samson Itodo. Samson is Executive Director, Yaga Africa. Thank you, Samson, for finding time to join us on this program on a new year. Well, this is 2nd of January. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, and also joining the conversation in the studio is Dr. Abdurrahman Abu Hamisu, political scientist and public affairs analyst. Happy New Year, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
And also joining us in the studio is Jide Ojo, public affairs analyst. You're welcome. Happy New Year.
Same to you. Happy New Year. Good morning, Nigerians.
You look like a chief today.
Chief,
because of the program. I know how you are certified chief or not. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program. You know, Nigeria is a nation that has a checkered political history. We know where we're coming from, and we all know where we are presently. And I'd like us to, take a critical look at the evolution, political evolution in the build-up to the 2023 general elections. Have we really matured politically? Are we getting it right? And I'd like to, first of all, bring in the politician among us to start this conversation. Yabagi Yusuf Sani. What is our place in politics today?
Well, Happy New Year, Nigerians, once again. I think our place in history is that of a nation that is on the verge of assuming its mandate of leadership in the Community of Nations. Because when you look at Nigeria from all perspectives, you will agree that Nigeria is a promise of greatness by virtue of its resources, in terms of natural resources, in terms of human capital, in terms of the size of the population itself, and even the size of the landmass that we have, and even the location of this country is such that you cannot but give us that position of leadership. And that is why we play big in the global economic setting. If you look at our history, yes, we have a checkered history. From time to time, you have this intervention by the military, which of course upset the trajectory that you would have expected of a nation that I've described, which is favored so fabulously by nature itself. So yes, and every country really, goes through this kind of path that we are going through, today as a nation. Take China, Singapore, what have you. What happened to those countries is that they stumbled on leadership that was focused, was very passionate about the growth of the country, was somebody that has foresight of what their nation should be. We can be compared with those countries, if not with more superlative, descriptions. China, probably you can talk about population, but we'll talk about resources. China still imports its oil from Nigeria, so which means we have a comparative advantage when you look at other nations, because energy it is that drives the revolutions that we have had all over from time immemorial. We are number 6 today, as a crude oil and gas exporting country. We are in fact, you can describe us as number 4 when you talk about gas. And gas today, the world is talking about climate change, renewable energies. Gas is the bridge between where we are today and where we are going to be. So, and as a country that is described by 2050 or so will be the 3rd largest, populous country. And the fact that the black race has contributed immensely into development of humanity. If we want to look at it, and look at Nigeria itself. We have produced, even today as we speak, you have our sons and daughters heading the highly respected institutions in the world. United Nations, you look at World Trade Organization, you look at African Development Bank. It's Nigerians that are heading those organizations, either number one or number two. So, and even in the business sector, or even in the economies like America, Britain, in their political setup, you find Nigerians really, in the position of leadership. So I believe that Nigeria is a promise of greatness, and what has stood between us and that greatness is leadership. And leadership is what democracy gives. And democracy gives such leadership that you can rely upon, that is in tune with the global trend. And all the mistakes that we've made in the past, I think they're human. They can be overcome. Believe you me, we have what it takes to overcome it. That is why when you look at our history with the interruption that military, brought in, and the fact that we are able to rise again and be reckoned with as a democracy that should be looked up to and be proud of. Don't mind all this rigging, all these sentiments and what have you, that for dichotomies, I'm talking about dichotomies, which we have. I'm talking about triple hatred which we have as a nation, that here we are with our own culture, where we are also with Islamic influence, here we are with Western influence, and the Nigerian politician has to contend with all these influences. Apart from the fact that we have this regionalism, that is north-south, we also have this sentiment of religion and things like that. So when you look at all these dichotomies, all these things that cannot and do not really add up when you talk about credible leadership, then you can now appreciate where we are and where we are going to be. We are going to be great, as far as this country is concerned. Yep. Don't forget that INEC is doing quite a lot by bringing innovations that will address...
Yeah, we'll come to talk about that in the course of the program, and you'll be able to hear your views on that. Let's bring in the Zoom net before the network gets back. Samson, today you've listened to Yabaji Yusuf Sani in his opening comment, and the question came through to him, the checkered history of Nigeria. Now we're on the threshold of history, 24 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria. Are we there now?
Well, thank you very much, and happy New Year once again. Are we there now? Quite frankly, we're not there yet, but are we on the right path? I'll say yes, for a couple of reasons. First, in this 24 years of democratic expedition, we've had transitions from different administrations, and these transitions have been peaceful, and these transitions are being in conformity with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And so to that extent, having managed these transitions, I would say that yes, we are indeed on the right path. The second point is the fact that we still have democratic institutions that advance democratic practice. Whilst these institutions may not be performing optimally, but these institutions exist. Because if you look at our experience with the military dictatorship, even though we still have those vestiges, of some elements of dictatorship and authoritarianism within our own time, to a large extent, we have agencies of protection within our constitutional structure that again advance democratic values. So if you look at institutions like INEC, we have seen an institution that has evolved over the last 24 years to where it is today. And you look at the quality of our elections, have they improved? Yes, to a large extent, the quality of our elections have improved, but there's still so much to be desired. And that's why year in, year out, after every election cycle, we are conducting or undertaking reforms to strengthen our electoral process and inspire confidence to the part of people. If you look at institutions like the National Assembly, if you look at the judiciary, yes, whilst there may be misgivings about some actions and also the strength of these institutions, but they've also really contributed to our democratic development over the last 24 years. And so to that extent, I would say yes, as a country, we are making progress, but the progress that we made is quite tangential. And for some people, the fact that we've not reverted back to military dictatorship is a big victory. democracy. But then there are several gaps, and I'm sure that we will talk about those gaps, because the big question is, in these 24 years, how has democratic practice, how have the leadership that's evolved over the last 24 years fixed the basic problem of delivering on the welfare and the security of individuals? And when people compare their lives over the last 24 years, have there been any significant improvement, or there has been a decline in the quality of life, in the nature and structure of our economy, but more importantly, on how secure our people feel? And I'll say to that extent, governance has really failed. Because just looking at and listening to the Nigerians we interview, some of the expectations that they express, whilst Nigerians have not lost faith in democracy, the nature and the type of democracy that we practice, one where leaders don't advance the public good, and we focus more on advancing primordial and parochial interests, is the one that citizens really expect, with the reverse, with the opportunity that the 2023 elections provide us.
All right, thank you, certainly, Todo, for that opening remarks that you have made. You actually raised a number of issues, and we are going to get into the nitty-gritty of this conversation using some of the points that you have raised. But now, let's go to a political scientist himself, Dr. Abdulrahman Abu Hamisu. Your postulations this morning will certainly give us a good position of Nigeria's place politically from a professional point of view. So what's your own assessment?
Well, it's not a rosy assessment. There are a lot of confusions, contradictions, and even the expectations, because Nigerians are equally confused. We don't even know the brand of democracy we are practicing. We only say it is a liberal democracy. And if you look at countries where liberal democracy are being implemented, you find crisis. And that is why the Chinese were clever. What they did was to ensure that they are implementing neoliberalism, but the state is actively involved. And as a countermeasure to the challenge that always comes with the implementation of liberal democracy, they institutionalize a welfare state and death penalty. And this is the contradiction. Liberal democracy gives you absolute right to be free to do anything. But that is an invitation to disaster, is an invitation to chaos. There must be order and orderliness. And that is exactly what Kagame is doing in Rwanda. If you like, you call it authoritarian democracy. If you like, you call it dictatorship, whatever you like, call it. But the contradiction, there must be order first. And if you look at Nigeria in the last 24 years, Nigeria has deteriorated from security to issues around corruption. The magnitude of corruption that has been committed in the last 24 years from 1960 to 1999, it was not committed. The freedom to steal, to do anything, because there is a deliberate assault on capital punishment globally. So you steal, you are jailed, and then somebody comes to power and you are pardoned. You steal, you go to EFCC and there is a plea bargain. I took 24 billion. I agree to remit 20 billion. I walk away with 4 billion. Who is losing?
Of our Commonwealth.
Of our Commonwealth. We shouldn't confuse election, just queuing to vote, as the same thing that we refer to as democratic governance. And even the proponents of democracy, I'm talking about people like Fukuyama, that said there was end of history because Soviet Union was defeated, said something. He said there is a great distinction between what is called liberal democracy and accountable government. That for him it is accountable government. Which government is accountable in Nigeria since we started democracy? How many of them have gone back to their constituencies to say this is what I was given in Abuja and this is what I'm able to do. Go and see what ICPC is doing currently. Recovering monies that were meant for projects at the senatorial levels and constituency levels, projects that were not executed, and the monies have gone to people that are representing the people. Do I vote you to go and steal my commonwealth, or I vote you to represent my interests and make my welfare the purpose of governance? So we must understand something, and we must understand where we are coming from. Now we say you are implementing liberal democracy, that is to empower the people. And as soon as we come to implement liberal democracy, the first thing we do is to deregulate the economy, to sack workers, to cut subsidy. Is that a panacea to peace, or it is a catalyst for insecurity in what we are witnessing today? If democracy is to disempower and dispossess the people, what are we? And that is why, if you look at the period between 1999 to date, a lot of crimes that we don't even discuss before, some lexicon have crept into our political discourse: hate speech, intolerance, banditry. These are words that were kidnapping, insurgency.
Things we used to hear from other crimes.
Yes, other crimes. And democracy is about peaceful conduct, is about orderliness, is about self-governance. And then when we have this liberal democracy instead of peace, today we are forming neighborhood watch.
On that note, let's bring in Jido Ojo. Can you paint a better picture?
I wish I could. And in all sincerity, maybe the best I can describe the situation we found ourselves is that we are not where we used to be, but we are not where we ought to be. We are perpetual underachievers. Contemporary countries that we got independence from their colonial masters have since left us. Quite unfortunately, we are facing the contradictions of liberal democracy, as Mala Amisu have said. Liberal democracy was to give vent to all and sundry, what we call participatory governance, that nobody should be left out. We are talking of inclusive governance. But in trying to have an inclusive governance, what is now playing out is inclusive stealing, inclusive haste, inclusive military. So every tribe and tongue, every religion is now represented at the sharing of our common patrimony, without as much as country regard for the ordinary citizen. Look at the institutions of governance. The best we have received from our political leaders, whether we benchmark it against 1960 or 1999, when we had this Fourth Republic, is tokenism. And tokenism hasn't helped us, because it's like somebody whose father has a ranch, who kills a cattle every day for people in the household to eat. And the portion that gets to those who labored to do the cooking is the bony aspect with very little meat on it. The ones that the dogs will be glad to have. And only very few has the meaty portion. So there is a disillusionment, and that's why there is a decline in participatory governance. Look at the voter turnout since 1999. The best we have had is less than 40%. The last presidential, election, it was about 33-35%. Why should that happen if people are very desirous of participatory governance or participatory democracy? People are asking themselves, why do I need to come out and rain and his son to give, it's supposed to be a social contract between the leader and the led. So somebody campaigns and you say, I'm the best out of the lot, vote for me. I will make sure that you have welfare, you have security, you have higher standard of living. These are the core issues on which campaigns have been launched over the past 24 years. Higher standard of living, security of your lives and property, and all whatnot. But what do we get at the end of the day? Mega excuses. I thought things were. I recall what the late Bola of blessed memory said when he was posted to Ministry of Power. There is somebody who said, I will turn stone to bread. I will make sure I give Nigerians electricity. Today, 24 years after that pledge, where are we with electricity? And we want to unlock the potentials of this great country. The last I checked, we are still producing less than 6,000 megawatts of electricity when we need 90-something thousand. So at the end of the day, how do the nexus between democracy and governance? There's a chance, there's a gap that needs to be filled so that people can connect being under a liberal democracy with good governance. To say, we voted for Yabagi and is delivering on his promises to us to secure our lives, to ensure safety and security and welfare. Because Section 14 sub 2B of the Constitution is very lucid. It says security and welfare of citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. Now, where is that security? Where is that?
Let me pause you here, and I want to appreciate the fact that we have laid a good background for this conversation. Having discussed Nigeria yesterday, and we're now focusing on what is expected of politicians and Nigerians in the coming year. As a matter of fact, you mentioned in your first comment, Yabagi Yusuf Sani, that we had the military interregnums, in our political process over the years, and that has affected leadership in this country. But I'm just asking, where did you now get it totally wrong? Because there are also nations who evolved from military interregnums and now became democratic and are doing well. In Indonesia, I was privileged to, speak with a retired military officer, who gave me history of military regimes in Indonesia and how the last military regime handed over to civilian administration in that country. And what has been consistent from military to civilian is development projects, executed projects. Not I will do this, I won't do it, whether I'm military or not. But in our own military interregnums that we had looting as well. We had uncompleted projects and all whatnot. Now we are transmitted into democratic process. And in the 70s, when we adopted the presidential system of government, like I still recall Andy Young, then of the UN, when the idea of going presidential was conceptualized in the 70s and all that. The people like me, I was just a young man, but I was believing that wherever will come up as a system of administration in Nigeria will be just like America. So perhaps, did we not copy rightly, or was there anything wrong in adoption of presidential system, or should it have been better really? I mean, if we were with a parliamentary system that we started, right? Juxtapose all of that on our expectations come 2023 politically.
Well, thank you, Karen. I mean, the question you ask yourself is, has the military left us? Really? So we are still
$1 million question.
Yes, we are still in transition. I mean, even the person there now, you can't take military out of him. The man has not experienced anything other than the military experience, and that's what is exhibited in the governance. You take it to Obasanjo's time, where you say you are saying that they handed over to civilian. No, the military handed over to another military, and since then it has been military, until we get it right.
We are still in transition, really, if the truth must be told. So it's up to Nigerians to ensure that we get it right this time around. I would not allow, the experience, of looting and all the things that we have mentioned that we don't want to continue with us. So the issue, people are not excited about elections because what you get is not anything different from what you've been having. That's what Jesus says. We are not where we are. Yes, it's not where we were yesterday, but we are not where we are supposed to be. Simply because we have not yet departed from yesterday.
Are we steps closer to where we should be?
Yeah, I think. Or
are we still?
2023 election may be it. Maybe that departure. If we vote rightly, maybe that departure. It will give us that departure from transition to now have a government that will work for Nigerians and will espouse all the democratic,
you say if you vote rightly, but the people who are going to vote for at the presidential level are people who have been in the system for a while.
I say vote rightly, like myself. I'm one of the I am not establishment candidate.
All right.
But all the people you have, they still have the baggage of this experience which we want to get out of as quickly as we can. So the issue is up to Nigerians to now vote wisely. You can't be doing the same thing the same way and expect different results. So if we must get it right, like other nations, like Jide says, those we started with have since left us, and here we are, and we have more resources than those ones. That is the unfortunate thing. Yes, everything you want to talk about, human capital, we have, which is the most precious asset. And we are so lucky as a nation that we can decide not to even import anything if we choose to. We have the raw materials to do it. God has given us the source of getting money, which is crude oil and gas, which is being stolen. 80% of our money is being stolen, of crude oil is being stolen. Announced. Government itself has come out to say this is how much of your money that is being stolen. The 90 every year out will come out and tell you $5 billion of your money, has been stolen this year.
Our money.
Exactly.
A few number of people.
And not single. I can't remember one individual who has been taken before the court. No wonder you have a General Federation who is supposed to be the owner of, because that's his position. He owns the money that the entire nation generates, because he looks after it, and whatever he tells us is what we know. As an accountant, as the accountant general, that one is a thief. The court says they're investigating. They say they have gotten some money he stole. You now come to the central bank, who's supposed to be your banker, the banker of the nation, of the government. He's also alleged as a thief. You talk about where you are generating the money itself, crude oil and gas, the NNPC and all the oil and gas, they are thieves. So you're
alleged that all these allegations and all that. There are allegations here.
No, I said naivety. It's not an allegation. Okay, he's confirming that $5 billion have been stolen.
Okay, naivety's report.
Yes. It's an authoritative document. So how can you can't get anything right here now? That's why you need to vote for people like us who have the knowledge. We know what is happening. We know how to solve the problem. And people like me are maybe there. They are out also. They want you to vote for them.
Okay, Yabaji Yusuf Sani, you've raised some very, very serious and pertinent questions there, but we'll get to that. Let's bring in Samson Ichudo. Samson, the guests in the studio are saying that Nigerians need to sit up. Right now, 2022 was quite loaded, from the primaries to the kickoff of the campaign in September, which will climax in February and March. Politicians hit the ground running. Now we have a population of 94 million registered voters in Nigeria. 13% are newly registered voters. So we're looking at a generational change here. Do you think they appeal to how politics is played in Nigeria presently, which is definitely not issue-based?
Again, I maintain that democracy is still the best form of government, and there is no substitute whatsoever, because of its capacity to advance the future legitimacy. In this case, to advance popular participation in the governance of society. And when you look at the voter registration, and I say this with a high sense of responsibility, that the turnout for voter registration is a clear indication that Nigerians, despite the state of the polity, have not lost faith in democracy. Nigerians believe that they can hire and fire leaders that are incompetent through the ballot. And we should celebrate that, because that is one of the values, that's one of the sort of positive dimensions of democratic practice, that you have an opportunity to hire and fire leaders, unlike other forms of government. And so you've seen the exponential growth, in the number of people who have showed up to register. And I would say that as much as we look across border, and we should move from just the presidential elections and go down even to state house of assembly elections. You've seen that enthusiasm on the part of citizens who are eager to cast their votes. The best that the state owes them is to ensure, one, that when they show up to vote next in February and March, that the environment is safe and secure for them to elect leaders of their choice. And so when we talk about expectation, whether it's enticing or it's interesting, that's one of the expectations that they have, because we know that we are grappling with multi-dimensional crisis as a country. The second is, if you look at the options that the parties have presented, yes, whilst for the presidential elections, you see it's a mixed bag, because people bought their ways, bought their tickets, and quite frankly, the commercialization of the entire process is such that those who secure the nomination are either the highest bidders and the highest spenders. Again, it's just what the political system has thrown up that requires a lot of reforms. But when you look down to governorship, to National Assembly, and also state house of assemblies, I will not go back to my mind, and I'll say that there are people who are on the ballot, who the people actually want to lead. Again, that's perhaps when they go to vote in the next election in February and March, you will see to what extent that these people represent the popular choice and the popular will of the people. But there are people on the ballot who enjoy popular support, as much as we say that yes, the entire candidate nomination process was highly commercialized. There was substitution of candidates and very illegal substitution of candidates, and you can see the controversies that point the candidate selection process. The third dimension is about this issue around turnout. And this is where Abuja and his cohorts and his team and his people and his colleagues in the political parties have failed in political education, in voter education, as well as political mobilization. I think the political parties can do a lot more, because placing the burden of voter education, on INEC and civil society is quite unfair, because political parties are the first beneficiaries of funds for elections. And so the expectations that members of the public will have is that political parties will play their role in educating citizens on the value and the need for them to show up and vote on next election. But also tied to that is what are people going to be voting for. If you don't present a manifesto that responds to the immediate and the future needs of Nigerians, then people will be preoccupied by other considerations when they go to vote. And I think that it's important that as a country, this particular election provides us an opportunity to focus on the critical issues of the economy, of security, of national integration, and more importantly, about justice. Because we look across the country today, we see institutionalized and state-sponsored injustice. And that needs to be addressed. But we work for Nigerians who are Nigerians and are citizens of this country. They need to feel that they can secure justice regardless of their class, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their religion. And only then can we say that the state has delivered on its responsibility. But yes, even though state represents It still has a local of coercion, of course. But that force and that power that it still has needs to be regulated within certain limits. And the whole notion of human democracy is about limits to power. And so we cannot advocate that states should continue to use power to clamp down on citizens. So what's the essence of human rights? You open our constitution. But yes, the state does have power, but no concept of a legal state. Yes, there is creation of power, but there is also a limitation of the exercise of that power. And I still maintain that as far as Nigeria is concerned, democratic practice still remains the best, but there are actions that need to be taken to advance the public good. And in this case, it's going to take the state performing its own functions and its own responsibility in the social contract that Julie talked about, but also citizens performing their own role in paying taxes, in complying and paying the law, but also participating in the governance.
The expectations of Nigerians are multi-dimensional in terms of election, in terms of political behaviors, and that's why I want to bring in Dr. Hamisu here again, because in political science, that's what is called a behavioral theory. Now, the behavior of politicians, their narrative, the use of words in campaigns, and what have you, does it leave anything to be desired? Because of course we've watched, even on social media, setting on unhealthy conversations between spokespersons of different political parties in the way they are wooing the Nigerian public to vote for them. You sort of just mentioned the issue of voter education and what have you, but I think that the social media has helped Nigerians in terms of voter education and knowing who to vote, or voting right, as Yusuf Sani earlier mentioned. So, Dr. Hamisu, are we getting the right narrative in respect to the expected the election that is forthcoming vis-a-vis what Nigerians are expecting this election? Some are even saying there's a fear that the election may not hold in some places like the southeast and other parts of Nigeria where we have insecurity and what have you. So what's your own take on that?
Yeah. Before I answer the question, I want to say something pertaining to what my friend Samson did raise. It is not enough that every 4 years we recycle people that will mismanage our destiny and we call it democracy. So I give you 4 years to loot me. We organize the election at the end of the 4 years. We vote you out of office, retire you to go and enjoy your loot. And we say we are practicing democracy and that it is the best form of government because you can hire and fire. No! It must include discipline. If you don't perform, if you steal our resources, at the end of your 4 years, we vote you out of office and we jail you. Then we can say that is democracy. But when we give people 4 years to loot us or 3 years to loot us, and after that again we organize elections, the excitement that is going to these elections are multidimensional. First, the politicians, the professional politicians in Nigeria don't own any industry. The only thing they are into is politics. It's only in this country that I'm seeing that kind of a thing. Other places, it's part-time. Politics is full-time because it is something that is continuous. But the actual thing that you need to do for your own upkeep and your family, you need to go out there and work. You leave Anchor local government and then you come to Abuja because you are representing your people. Then you don't do anything, and then every month we give you money, and then you decide how much you are going to pay yourself in terms of housing allowance, how much you are going to pay yourself vehicle allowance. Even the vehicles that such a person, if you give him 10 years, he cannot raise the money to buy. That is the kind of things they are giving to themselves. And you say that is democracy. Then you have the voters themselves. Something talked about the commercialization of vote. You can't divorce it from liberal democracy. Liberal democracy is about somebody's personal interest. When you have public interest colliding with personal interest, where people tend to pursue their personal interest over and above collective interest, what you have is a disaster. Nobody is doing anything for the interest of the public. So, for instance, if they bring file for me to sign a contract that will renovate this place and make it world standard, the first thing I'm going to ask, what is in there for me? or the file don't get passed. And that is why you're having abandoned project. That is why projects will be conceptualized. It will be used to remove money. For instance, the integrated power project, how much was budgeted? The same. Look at the railway. Look at a lot of things that have happened in this country. So we use our problems to justify why we need to remove money from the treasury. We use this problem to remove this money from the treasury, and then we share the money, and the problem is not solved. The monies are gone, and that's why today Nigeria is broke. So let me just say something. In some senses, we have the institution, we have this, we don't have the right character. We don't have the discipline. We don't have the commitment. We don't have the patriotism. So if you like, take Nigerians to America to learn manage America. America will become a third world country. Bring Americans to Nigeria. Nigeria will become an Eldorado on the planet because they have the right frame of mind. An English person or European, if you give the person anything that the person don't merit, the person will flatly reject it and say, no, I didn't merit it. I'm not going to accept it. In Nigeria,
awards upon awards.
Of course. So your family will even curse you.
Yes.
For rejecting such an offer. They give you local government chairman today, your friends are congratulating you, they go to newspaper houses and then they make advert with their picture so that they don't even bat their name if you want to share the patronage. So they put their picture there so that when you're sharing the patronage, you'll come and people and Obajide Namiyo, I don't come. So how do you know?
So before you answer a question, let us share this, I used to have a local government chairman, during the military regime, yes, but this man will be trekking. I see him at the bus stop. I said, sir, why are you at the bus stop? He said, no, that, his driver took some councillors somewhere, they're going to do some investigation, but he decided to use bus. I said, what kind of a chairman are you? He said, that is the way he wants to do it. Yes. As a matter of fact, I don't want to mention the name, but it's the popular name in Eziago, where I come from, my council area in Enugu State. He retired as a DG, right, and he's also a professor at the moment. So this is a man who, we can't forget him. Yeah. Over 20 years, getting to 30 years, he was chairman of that council area, right. But we've had a bunch of local government chairmen in that place, from then till now. We can't even remember the names of some of them. Well, they didn't do anything spectacular. And this man did a lot of things within the council area, but he was still trekking. He didn't have a private car, even after serving. I was up to today. We salute him.
You respect
him. We respect him, for that. Today, go and see the government chairman. They have houses in Abuja. Yeah. They have they have a fleet of cars.
Exactly. Let's bring in Jide Ojo into this conversation now. We've been talking about Nigerians asking for dividends of democracy. Where does voter apathy comes in? We lose interest in politics and we expect so much more from it.
My sister, we need to contextualize the issue that we glamorize as voter apathy. I've said at different fora that our voter apathy is even more or less self-inflicted. Self-inflicted in the sense that you cannot run election the way we run election and expect people to participate massively. There is no amount of voter education or political education that can be instituted. Even give hundreds of billions to National Orientation Agency, people will not come out. You know why? The system is not liberal enough to engage and make people to participate on a large scale. And I say this advisedly. I've been privileged to observe election in at least 4 other countries apart from Nigeria, and I've been observing election in Nigeria since 1999. I've been to US, I've been to Uganda, I've been to Egypt, and I've been to Ghana. Now, in Ghana, let me start with Ghana. Ghana has what is called early voting provision. So, if, as you and I, will be engaged during the elections, maybe analyzing, maybe presenting, you cannot vote even when you have your PVC. Now, INEC is recruiting about 1.5 million ad hoc staff. They will not vote. security agencies, all of them, about 1 million, put them together, from police to army to DSS and all of that, they will not vote. All observers, accredited observers, will not vote. All journalists covering election will not vote. Why would they not vote? Why should they not vote? You are talking about 5 million people already excluded, even if they have their PVC.
Yeah.
Because there is no provision for early voting. And this is not rocket science. In Ghana, when I went there in 2008, the election that brought in Professor Atta Mills, it was even on a Sunday the election was held. Because they have a day, start that election was held in the constitution of Ghana. Nobody raised eyebrow to say, this is our religious day. It's a day of worship. We cannot. No. All the Christians in Ghana in 2008, they shifted their vote, their service to Saturday. Because they know the date is sacrosanct. Now, early voting provision, what does it mean? In select polling units, maybe at ward level, a week or thereabouts to the election, you allow people who will be on election duty or who will not be available to vote on election to come and vote. But the only thing is that their votes will not be counted. It will be sealed and kept until the general voting. And then it will be counted along. There is no provision like that. If you follow the November 8th election in US, I was also in US in 2010. In most states in US, elections hold between 12 and 13 hours. In Nigeria, election holds for 6 hours. Whether it's 8 to 2 or 8:30 to 2:30 or 9 to 3, it's 6 hours. Now, in US, you have election in a particular state, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So you don't need to shut down the economy. On your way to work, you can vote. During your break, you can vote. On your way back from work, you can vote. Nobody works 12 hours. Max 8 hours. So in between, without even restriction of movement, you have latitude of when you can vote. That's second. Even in so don't say it's US. Don't compare apple and oranges. In Egypt, I was there in 2014. The election that brought in Al-Sisi. In Egypt, election holds from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And who are the people that conduct election? Judges of the court are the ones that conduct election. And elections are held inside classrooms, public schools alone. Well lit. So even at 9 p.m., I see children coming with their parents to vote. And in Egypt, there is even no permanent voters card, continuous voter registration. Nothing. No. What they do simply is that they have national identity card. That's so, our name. Our name. So once you are 18, you are flagged, they are told where you are going to vote. They don't spend billions on continuous voter registration. Their national ID card is what they use to vote. So compare our home. Then come down to Nigeria. On election day, you shut down the system. You shut down. So people cannot move from point A to point B because you don't want people to come. No, now, I live in Cuba. I work in Wuse. I registered in Wuse. How do I commute to come to Wuse to vote? Because there's shutdown of the system. Many people so these are things that other countries take for granted that makes what of mail-in ballot, what of diaspora voting, what of even sorry clear wait 1 second. In Kenya, so that we don't say don't use America. In Kenya, did you know the election that brought William Ruto to government in Kenya? There prisoners in Kenya voted. Prisoners, those who are in prison, they voted. Kenyans in diaspora in 12 other countries voted in that election. So what is wrong with us? These are African countries like
yes, really, you have very solid point, because on this program some time ago where we had a similar topic, I raised the issue of diaspora voting. I raised the issue of early voting.
Yes.
Well, these are not rocket science things that we can do.
And to make things the process
Yes,
easy.
and now that we're even advanced further, we have BMAS, or and other things that we're BMAS rather, that we have inculcated into our electoral system, which is good, because perhaps the reason why we say no people movement and all of that is because of rigging and what have you. But we're already coming out of rigging, with all these new introductions or new blood injected by INEC into the electoral system. But when we talk about the Electoral Act, I had thought that these issues could be addressed, especially diaspora voting. The Nigerians have a lot of people outside this country. All right. So, well, we'll continue the conversation after this break. Do stay with us.
They swore an oath to serve our fatherland and defend the people. They traded their freedom, comfortable homes, and mortgaged their lives on the battleground for our unity and peaceful living. These are the great, fearless, loyal, and committed Nigerian armed forces who risked their lives courageously to safeguard our borders. But in the line of duty, many never returned. Nigerians, arise, let's celebrate our fallen heroes. We honor the remembrance emblem with pride to support the incapacitated and families of our fallen heroes.
For occasion, discourse, reflection, and remind us of the sacrifice made by our armed forces in preserving the unity of the country.
All ministries, parastatals, religious and corporate bodies to donate generously to the Emblem Appeal Lunch. Send your donations to this account. Account name, Emblem Appeal Lunch. Account number 393-200-7526. EcoBank Nigeria PLC.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
I'm a teacher by profession. I chamber service. I could not even remember some of them, but by their approach, greeting and respect.
I make beads. I liquid soap bricks. I have stopped buying liquid soap from the market. I make it and I teach these young ones how to do that. And when I do, it is not for any fee.
In most cases, I serve as consultants. Many people come to me inquiring how to go about doing the farming. I normally direct them on what to do.
Right now, I'm not into any paid job, as I said, but I'm happy doing what I can do.
Senior citizens over the years have shown that they are still capable of working. They have shown that retirement is only but a social construct, not a limitation. Senior citizens until the end carry around a wealth of knowledge that we can tap into. They have walked these journeys we now walk today. They have amassed all of these experiences so they can stand holding the torch so we do not stumble in the dark. Our senior citizens are national assets, packed full with inestimable value. They should not be condemned to a life of obscurity, but one where they serve to illuminate our path. Promoting senior citizens for intergenerational workforce.
The Ministry of Police Affairs under my watch has been instrumental to strengthening the Nigerian police force to tackle challenges in the internal security architecture of the nation.
To effectively achieve its mandate to protect lives and property within Nigeria, the Nigerian police have deployed operational intelligence and the ICT-based apparatus to tackle and stem the tide of crime and criminality. Some of these efforts include the maximization of the Force Intelligence Bureau, Intelligence Response Team, and Special Tactical Squads through digitalization of emergency contacts via the NPF Rescue Me application for emergency response at the top of a button.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, we thank you for staying with us up to this moment on Good Morning Nigeria for Monday. As a matter of fact, the first edition of the program in the year 2023, and we're happy you're with us.
And it's quite hot. Especially hot.
Yeah.
Enjoying it.
Whenever it is political, every Nigerian is awake because we are political animals. Have to sit them down. But what is actually not sitting well with Nigerians is the fact that some have taken politics as a profession, even when they didn't study political science, like myself and Dr. Hamisu. Yet, I mean, when they take positions of authority, they don't know how to do the authoritative distribution of scarce resources. That's just what the problem is. And at this point, let me bring in again Sam Itodo. Sam, we are talking about remediation now. What do we need to put in place to grow our political culture and enhance our leadership recruitment process?
Okay.
Yeah, I think I've lost Sam's connection. Yeah, so you can.
Before I don't know, I would have loved Sam.
Yeah,
have some comments on what he said. Anything to talk about voter apathy and things like that. I think he needs to be more civil when he's talking about politicians. He said Yaba Gisani and his cohort. I mean, you don't use such language to describe your leaders. It's not acceptable at all. So he should take it back, please.
Okay.
And also, you should understand that he says the political parties are supposed to fund the voter education. You see, this is the problem. This is my problem with armchair politicians like Sam himself. I mean, Itodo. You sit comfortably in some offices with maybe 10, 20 people. And you want to now criticize national chairman of political parties that are presiding over affairs of thousands, millions of people. And you now say they don't spend money. Which, look at what has happened. Before, government used to, fund political parties. Today, government does not fund political parties. And this is an economy that underlying conditions are two. One,
should government fund political parties?
I'm coming. We have two underlying conditions, which is as a result of ineptitude in governance. What is it? Ignorance, poverty. It's pervasive in our country. And you now expect people to think independently, because democracy is about people thinking for themselves, because it's government of the people, by the people, for the people. So these people are pauperized. Political parties are not able to even collect the fees, the 1,200 naira or 120 naira that you ask people to pay. They can't even afford it to pay. And when you hold primaries, people cry that, you are charging too much fees and things like that. And these primaries and voter education cost money. We are not like the CSOs who gets their money from abroad, get some millions of dollars and things like that, and come and disturb politicians that you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Another thing that Jide mentioned is that voter apathy is because of the way we run the elections themselves and the process itself. Believe me, Kieran, our electoral process is overregulated. The 2022 Electoral Act has introduced, some innovations. But what has happened is that even for you to get yourself on the portal of INEC, it's a Herculean task. You have to go to court. And we are complaining that court is becoming INEC,
they have made it so because you put so many regulations, too many regulations, as if it's not democracy you are running. You know, you have to go.
What are those regulations you are talking about? I have to have
the regulations. Let me tell you, the act itself, because it was prepared by the politicians, the people in National Assembly, in collaboration with people in INEC and some of us. But when the act came out, INEC now they have their own law that is not in tune with what the law says.
With the Electoral Act.
With the Electoral Act. And for you to get them to think that, oh no, it can't be so, you have to go to court to get INEC to see the reality of the fact that no law can supersede the Act of Parliament or the Constitution or the ground norm itself, the Constitution. They say their own rules and regulations supersede the Electoral Act and the Constitution itself. So you have to go to a judge to tell them that no, your rules, your regulations cannot supersede what the Electoral Act is. So this is why you are having, courts. The INEC is having over 700 court cases and what have you. And care is not taken. We conduct this election. What you find is people running to court because sensible things, that obvious things that you should do, they refuse to do it. So that's why you have voter apathy. And the issue in this country is that we must liberalize the process. Okay, so that's what democracy is.
I think we are lucky back now. Yes, we're lucky to have you to the back, and I take it you had my question anyway, even though we lost your connection. I was talking about what we need to do as a people to change our political culture or grow our political culture, and of course enhance leadership recruitment process, which election does. But again, the primaries by the party also begins the process by nomination before election. So what can we do to change the narrative?
Sorry, please confirm you can hear me.
We can hear you, please. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. On a political culture, first, what's culture? Culture is the way of life, is a way of doing things. First, we need to, build consensus around what kind of leadership do we need as a country, and political parties need to ensure that leadership recruitment is based on merit. And it's based on individuals who have the requisite capacity and the character, to deliver public governance. That's one. The second is you need to have people who have an understanding of, one, the country, the political dynamics, the history of the country, and people who can forge national unity. Now, you also need to look at people, who can work with people from other cultural and other religious divides, and to advance that collective vision that we have for our country. And for the leadership recruitment, and when you look at political parties, and I say this, that in the post-election, in the post-2023 era, we need to have a deeper conversation about political finance reforms and around candidate selection. This whole procurement of delegates that we experience within our polity needs to stop, and it needs to change. Again, I put the buck before the political parties because they are the ones, who present leaders and for Nigerians to vote at elections, and so they have to exercise circumspection in the recruitment of leaders. And so this whole delegate procurement process, this high cost of nomination, high cost for nomination fees needs to be revisited, because quite frankly, when your political or leadership recruitment process is defined by the highest bidder and the highest spender, what you end up with are political leaders who have absolute disregard, for the will and the aspirations of the people. So that needs to change. For me, the last point, and I heard Alhaji Abaji Sani quite uncomfortable with my comment on the cohort, and when I used the cohort, I used that in
in trying to classify the political parties indeed as a cohort, because they are all political institutions. But it seems he wasn't comfortable with that, and I'm sorry if you find it that classification offensive, but it wasn't in any way to disregard or undermine political parties. But political parties are still considered a cohort because they have the same, they share the same function and to a large extent the same characteristics, and I use that in that particular form. But again, on political mobilization, political parties have a fundamental role, to mobilize citizens and conduct voter education, and that responsibility is shared. I am completely against state funding of political parties. We tried that before. We saw what happened to our political system, and then the state also withdrew state funding for parties. But I think that parties also need to look inward. If you mobilize members, things like membership dues, are ways that parties can also generate their revenue. There are innovative models for parties generating their revenue, but I think that it's important that also within our political system, incumbents don't have access to state resources, to fund their campaigns. If you look at the US, which has been referenced, when the president of the United States of America is contesting for office, they have to pay if they are going to use state facilities. But in our own time, once you are an incumbent, you have access to unfettered access to state resources, and that creates an uneven position for other political parties because it disproportionately affects parties who are not in power, and these are the things that I think it requires reform in the post-2023 elections era.
Samson Ichido is the Executive Director, Yega Africa. Thank you so much. We have to let you go now. Time is running out. Thank you so much for coming on Good Morning Nigeria and compliments of the season. Jideojo, I'm going to come to you. How do we begin to get it right? 2023 is just around the corner. A new government is coming in with a load of burden on it.
Well, I think whoever comes in must understand that is coming to meet a huge challenge, both economic and politically. And I differ a bit when people say, let's look for a good man, let's look for the right man. If the system works, whether you are good or bad, you are regulated by the system. The impunity that has eaten deep into our polity is why we feel the system cannot work. Look at what is happening to Donald Trump in US today. They have declassified his tax returns. They are holding him accountable for so many things he did while his administration was on. How many past government have we held accountable?
Same in South Africa.
The same in South Africa, the same in Jerusalem, in Israel, where a former mayor of Jerusalem has been sent to. Even in France, something totally raised the issue of party finance. A former president of France who collected money from which is illegal to their system, was sentenced to jail. So where is that sense of accountability in Nigeria? So the impunity that pervaded the system is why we feel, because why we feel the system cannot work in our favor as citizens. Because come to think of it, 5 of us are running for government. If we know, as the Chinese knows, that if you steal, it's death sentence. It's not about I was I had a dream or it was witches and witchcraft that said I should go and steal. So the system was not the system has not worked.
Let's allow him to do that. Yes, your system. You're not happy with the system, the political system in Nigeria. What system do we? Is it liberal democracy? Or do we need a dark?
For me, Acton said for all forms of government, let force contain that what is best administered is best. And that is why we see that liberal democracy in UK is different from liberal democracy in America, is different from liberal democracy in Portugal. Why is it like that? It is because of the peculiarity nature of the people. The way we are in Nigeria is akin to, you come to a roundabout, and then everybody wants to move at their own pace and they choke the entire place. And then you now keep one person as traffic warder to tell them what to do. These are all adults that owns a car, that drove their cars from their homes. But when they go to where they needed to carefully use their senses, because of lack of self-governance, we are requiring a traffic warder to say, hey, you stop, you pass.
Even with the traffic light.
Even with the traffic light.
Yeah, but
So how do you
about 30 seconds, let's have it.
Well, I think we have told Nigerians as Action Democratic Party what we are going to do. We're going to govern by the rule of law. Because when you govern by the rule of law, all these things we are talking about, believe you me, would be a thing of past. Because we are all equal. That's what Jide was saying, that's what Dr. Hamisu is saying, that you must have a system that works. A system that is known to everybody. And if the president, like by the grace of God, I become the president of this country 2023, believe you me, we are going to govern by the rule of law.
Okay, we'll leave it there. How about you, Yusuf Sani, National Chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, and also a presidential candidate. Thank you so much for your input to this conversation. I've already signed up Samson Itudo, Executive Director, YAICA Africa. And Dr. Abdulrahman Habu Hamisu, political scientist and public affairs analyst, saying it as it is. It's always a pleasure to have you, gentlemen.
The pleasure is all mine.
And Jide Ojo, public affairs analyst, Chief Jide Ojo, public affairs analyst. I love the way you put it across, and I'm sure the viewers have got, and I'm sure
we have no other country but this one.
Yeah.
Going to probe your chief.
Yeah. Okay, which is next?
Tens of thousands of people are expected to pay their last respects to former Pope Benedict XIV when his laying in state begins at the Vatican. He died on New Year's Eve at the age of 95, almost a decade after he stood down because of ill health. Pope Francis will preside over Thursday's funeral, the first time that a pope will be buried by his successor, whereas the Vatican says the service will be simple, solemn, and sober. People are allowed to pay respects until 7 p.m. each evening. Arrangements for the service are not yet clear, as many of the traditions associated with the death of a seventh pope are not required. The funeral will take place in St. Peter's Square before the Pope Emeritus is laid to rest in the tombs beneath the basilica. Benedict XIV became the first pope to resign in 600 years in 2013, citing ailing health. In Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has been sworn in as the new president amid tight security due to threats of violence by supporters of his far-right predecessor, Jair Bolsonaro. He led the country between 2003 and 2010 and defeated Jair Bolsonaro in October's poll 2022. In his speech, Lula vowed to revamp the country's economy. He decried the policies of his predecessor, who went to the US on Friday to avoid the handover ceremony.
Well, and that's Good Morning Nigeria for today, the first edition of the program in 2023. I'm happy to have been with you today, and I will return tomorrow for another edition of Good Morning Nigeria. Happy New Year once again, and I'll see you again tomorrow. I am Kieran Umayo.
And I'm Jim Yusuf. Thank you so much for your time. Do have a blessed year ahead.
NTA, Uganda Deutsch.
My name is Biko. And I'm Mana. And together we are Biko's Mana.
What is up, everyone? My name is Ricky Smith, and I am the writer and producer of the Sesame Street Friends theme song.
Hey, it's time to play. We're glad you came because we love to share.
It's been so cool working with Biko and Mana on this project. They've been incredibly professional, and obviously they are so talented. We could not have found better people to sing this song.
Hey, it's time to play. We're glad you came because we love to share. We can laugh and sing, do brand new things with new friends everywhere. Let's have some fun with everyone because we love to learn together, making new friends forever. Sesame Street Friends.
This is the network service of the NTA.
How are you? It's always a pleasure to welcome you to the program Thoughts for the Week with Cordelia. Well, today we're sharing something that I think we all should know, especially for those of us on the social media. Why? You'll find out. Since the explosion of the social media all over the world, things have been kind of dicey. Why? When things happen, people want to be the first to break the news. People want to be the first to put it up. Whether it's correct or not, they don't really care. And what's up? Some people want to trend. Some of these people, to make sure they trend, they go and get images, pictures, or stories that are completely unrelated to what is happening at that point in time, and they put them all up. And then, fuel is added to the tension that may just be on the ground at that particular moment. What then happens? Fire spreads. And when that fire spreads, our elders have a description for exactly what starts happening. They have said that when anything serious happens to the news, it is the eyes that cry. Put simply, these falsehood or false representation of things happening end up spreading like wildfire. At the end of the day, people who know nothing about what's on the ground end up being wounded. But then, to what end are we doing this? Our fathers have said, the wildfire is never satisfied with burning down one tree in the forest. The wildfire is never satisfied with burning down one tree in the forest. It devours all in its path and it keeps spreading and spreading and spreading. The wise ones told us a long time ago, a man who shoots an arrow into the market has not excluded his mother. And they also said, he who throws stones into the market might just hit his own mother. Put simply again, when these things start spreading, they come back to us eventually. Nemesis knows everybody's address. Or is it karma now? And if care is not taken, even you and your loved ones will be engulfed by whatever trouble that falsehood or misrepresentation would give birth to. Is it actually worth it? Just to trend? Or just to be popular? It's a question. We must always remember that whatever we're doing today, there is repercussion. And our elders have said, the palm kernel a man throws forward while walking on the road, he must come across later. That means these things eventually will pile up and wait for us somewhere in the future. Again, I ask, is it worth it?
Wetomojo, Vejeriemu.
So, for our thoughts for the week, can we take a challenge and just think about positive news to spread, if we must spread anything? Positive, factual news to spread? Let's think about that. And do remember that whatever we do today, somehow will come back tomorrow, be it good or be it bad. Till I come your way again next week, remember to love yourself, love your neighbor as you love your loved ones, and pray for the nation all the time. I'm Cordelia Obe. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Once I get an inspiration about something, it can just be around my environment. I can just see something and it just inspire me. So that's just the way I create fashion. Hello, I'm Aisha Bella Akwanga, the creative director of Body Case Fashion, and I'm in the business of style.
Daga zuciya ta da furta gaskiya da kindisa ta nake.
I won't be able to say at what age exactly, but I know I always love fashion. I started by hand stitches. After the university, I decided to go for fashion school. I went to Accra, as far as Accra, to study fashion at Dot School of Fashion and Design. It was the first time. So learning fashion, the basics and everything, that was the foundation. As a young designer, you have you're passionate. When you're passionate about things, you just want to do it. You know, whether the money is coming or not, you just want to do it. The money wasn't coming when I came back to start fashion, because it was mostly family members. Can you help me do this? I had my machine, you know, I just had my machine. When I wake up, I had it there in the house. When I wake up, the first thing I do, I go straight to my machine. After my prayers and my house chores, I just go straight to my machine. I can sit there from morning till night. I kept trying to discover things, even about the clothing that I wear, even about the ones that I bought out. I try to see how they make it. Sometimes I even try to rip it off and then try to make it again. It's crazy when it comes to fashion. If you really want to do fashion, you have to be out there. You have to make a lot of research. You have to look at other people's work. You could just sit down and create something, illustrate something out of the ordinary. You know, for me, that I'm crazy, you know, with my fashion sense. Most people don't really understand it. They ask me most of the time, how do you come up with this design? And I even ask myself, how do I come up with this design? You know, it's just crazy. I could just think of something like a house or something, and I want to do something related to that. You know, that's just the way fashion goes. If you have to create things that are meaningful, what are you creating this look for? What does this represent? I'm so proud of the collection because it has brought me a lot of luck. This is African Fashion Week. I'm going to Lagos. Okay. And then they said they are promoting the adire. I don't know what I was going to create, but I knew I wanted to do something that have to do with Gimbia. From the song I listened to, Gimbia kept coming to my head, and then I kept telling myself, for you to come this far, you are a warrior. So what do I do? And I came across Queen Amina of Zazzau. I'm like, okay, this is a beautiful combination. So let me do everything that has to do with representing a queen and then a warrior at the same time. My collection had the adire touch in it. It has the batik touch in it. It has the ashoke touch in it. And then it had the modest touch because most of my collections are hooded. If you notice, for people that are modest, that they might not want to open up their hair, you know, I try to make it very modest. Of course, you can take it down, wear your pickup, dress it the way. It's all about styling. You know, wear your sneakers, wear your pickup, do everything. And then the transformer look is also, you know, the abaya. Everybody knows the abaya is just a single one-piece dress, maybe with a rope or a veil, but I decided to create mine different. That's what makes Body Kiss unique, because you can have this collection, you can have this abaya, you can style it the way you want to style it. It's not a regular modest wear collection. It has a corset in it, it has a short, it can even have a pants. So you have to think as a stylist. I think as a stylist, I don't think just as a designer. I'm a stylist. So that's what makes me different, because you can't really figure it and say, oh, this person, this is the next thing she's going to do, or that is the next thing she's going to do. The ideas are not just ideas that you just keep and say you want to pick from them. It just comes.
I've been in the industry. I started as a beauty therapist and been working for a while. And through my combination of product, because I found that the African skin is quite unique. So we couldn't use one streamlined product to treat the African skin. So I found out that I have to mix and match to get what I needed. And I said to myself, look, I know that people that have gone to train, even if they are not trained, and I'm able to bring my professional products to set standard, I could actually train them to begin to use professional product, not the things that they mix themselves, which they were using to spoil the name of the beauty industry. I think that's the problem we're having for people like us that have a Nigerian brand. They still classify us as, oh, this is a foreign product. Even if it's not doing anything for me, I'd rather use it than using a Nigerian brand. But forgetting that, look, these people, especially from me that comes from beauty, you understand, I'm not just an entrepreneur that just started manufacturing. I started manufacturing because of the gap that we had in the beauty industry. And I had practiced over a while. I've used quite a bit of foreign products. And I know that none of them, one single product, can give me exactly what I wanted. So I know that. So with my knowledge, I thought there would be a respect for that thing that I'm presenting and said, look, this thing will actually work. You know, so, but that's not what we see in Nigeria, especially amongst the beauty therapists. They feel there's a competition. I'd rather use what I'm fabricating in my backyard than buy into the professional products. The beauty industry is growing. It's growing. And so long as we don't present professionalism, it's going to be a big problem. Because you keep on making customers to question whether why are they spending amount of money? If I can use tomatoes or whatever product, organic thing they're using to do treatment, if I can fabricate that and mix it in my kitchen and come and do, the customer can as well do this. There is a difference between over the counter, which the organic brand It's quite different. It's also in a category of its own. So I hear customers coming, is a natural, using natural product. They don't even know what natural means. So the professional product, most of them have a delivery system. It is made for treatment. It is not in competition with over-the-counter at all. So we need people to know that when you're using professional, it is not in competition with over-the-counter, talk less of organic. It is a different thing altogether. That's why it's very expensive. So you can't use clearance to do my face or clinic and you expect me to pay the amount of money that somebody that is using professional is paying. It doesn't work like that, no matter how beautiful your building is. Luxury over the counter like La Mer, all of them, Shiseido, they are over the counter, they are not professional. It's just like a doctor, treating you with something you can easily buy from pharmacy. That's what the therapists in Nigeria have to recognize, that they cannot still put us on the level where customers has to debate on the product you're using. They just need to trust that the product you're using is right and that you know what you're doing. Basically, if you have a problem and you're seeking to get a certain result, you can come to me, and what you're looking for is that you want a very smooth, supple skin. Another person, the same color as you, the same complexion, will come and say, oh, I want to brighten. If I'm your friend, I don't know the reason why you came to me, and then I give you what it is that you need to use, and they see it and like, okay, I like this. They like it on you. It's just like clothes. What you're wearing might not fit me because we're different bodies structure. So it's the same thing with skincare. It is not what you see. It's not as simple as that. But what benefit if you're 23, you're 30, that you will get from using vitamin C ester or citric acid when you're looking to look like a certain person? So that person is using ascorbic or L-ascorbic, which is the most active form of vitamin C. And they're very expensive. So you cannot compare them with citric. Citric acid is like cutting lemon and putting on your skin. Some people come and they say, oh, Lillian, I want my skin to look like yours. And you want to use citric acid. It doesn't work like that. So you need to go to a qualified beautician, esthetician, dermatologist. You need to go to them. Tell them what you're looking for. They will assess your skin and give you the right product for yourself. You can't copy somebody's style when you have a different skin structure or different skin condition.
Just after the break, we help you unlock your skin goals for the new year with a curated routine from the Skinologist founder.
Glamour, runway, style, fame.
She likes fashion. She likes fashion. She likes fashion.
Every year, Fashion Rebirth brings creatives, style enthusiasts, and fashion industry leaders to the capital city to celebrate indigenous design talent. In its 5th edition, the show's outstanding turnout and designers' diverse and cohesive collections exhibited the immense value of embracing our own fashion and the potential it has for promotion, connection, and creation.
Always ask the designers to come up with a concept, because I believe that a collection should be a story. You should have a story, there should be cohesion. The theme for Fashion Rebirth this year is Mama, and that's the name of my collection. And my collection is all crocheting with a little bit of Ankara, just a little. I always have to add crocheting to my collection. Every year, crocheting has to be in my collection because that was my first introduction to fashion.
Zadok debuted Mama, a stunning collection dedicated to her late mother, who taught her the craft of crochet and introduced her to the world of fashion. Her collection featured delicate pieces all crocheted by hand. Another collection inspired by matriarch came from Bashakara. It was named Ugonwa and featured a range of colorful ensembles. The use of color was also the focal point for the creative director of Kawaida Picha, who debuted the Neo Kawaida collection, a futuristic sampling of irregular silhouettes and unusual cuts.
Neo Kawaida means the new casual. It's totally different from what I have showcased in the previous runways. I've been with Fashion Rebirth right from the first exhibition. It has given us the stage to showcase ourselves, to get known for what we do. It has been awesome.